Nobody saw this coming, and when you find out what the Cowboys just quietly arranged with the New Orleans Saints, you'll understand why every single Dallas fan needs to watch this video right now, because this changes everything for Dak Prescott and the 2026 season. What if I told you the man who built Dak Prescott's greatest offensive years is now coming back to face him? Not as a teammate, not as a coordinator, but as a head coach, on the opposite sideline. And the Cowboys just made it official that they are going to practice against him, side by side, before the season even starts. Stay right here, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what this means for Dallas, and why this reunion could either be the greatest gift or the most dangerous trap the Cowboys have walked into in years. Alright, Cowboys Nation, let's get into it. June 2026, and the NFL offseason is heating up fast. We've been covering every move Jerry Jones has made, the George Pickens acquisition, the Rashan Gary trade, the defensive rebuild, but the news that just dropped this week is something that has the entire Cowboys fanbase buzzing, and honestly, it deserves way more attention than it's getting. Here's what happened. The Dallas Cowboys just officially confirmed their 2026 preseason schedule, and it includes a home game on Friday, August 28th against the New Orleans Saints at AT&T Stadium. Now you're probably thinking, okay, that's just a preseason game, who cares? But here's where it gets wild. It was also just confirmed, within the last week, that the Cowboys and Saints will hold joint practices together in the days leading up to that August 28th game. Joint practices. Which means Dak Prescott and the entire Cowboys offense will be lining up, going rep after rep, against the New Orleans Saints defense, and Saints quarterback Tyler Shaw, and that offense will be going head-to-head against Dallas' rebuilt secondary. That's a massive deal on its own. But that's not even the most shocking part. The head coach of the New Orleans Saints in 2026. That's Kellen Moore. Let that name sink in for a second. Kellen Moore, the man who was Dak Prescott's offensive coordinator in Dallas from 2019 to 2022. The man who helped Prescott throw for 4,516 yards and 36 touchdowns in 2023. The man who knew Dak's tendencies, his reads, his audibles, his entire playbook, better than almost anyone alive. And now he's walking back into AT&T Stadium, not as part of the Cowboys family, but as the head coach of a team trying to beat them. This is a Kellen Moore reunion nobody fully prepared for. Let's break down exactly why this matters and what it means for the 2026 Cowboys season. First, let's talk about where Dallas is right now heading into 2026. After a brutal 2025 season where the Cowboys went 7-9-1, missed the playoffs for the second consecutive year, and had arguably the worst defense in franchise history, Jerry Jones went into full rebuild mode this offseason. And honestly, the moves have been impressive. Dallas acquired edge rusher Rashan Gary from the Green Bay Packers in exchange for a 2027 fourth-round pick. They signed cornerbacks Jalen Thompson, P.J. Locke, and Kobe Durant to shore up a secondary that was absolutely torched in 2025. They brought in Otito Ogbonnia for defensive line depth and signed linebacker D. Winters via a trade with the San Francisco 49ers. On offense, they kept the band together. Dak Prescott is back. CeeDee Lamb is back. And George Pickens, who they traded for last year, sending a 2026 third-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick to Pittsburgh, is locked in on the franchise tag worth a guaranteed $27.3 million for 2026. That's a 1-2 wide receiver punch that will give opposing defenses absolute nightmares. Running back Javonte Williams, who rushed for 1,201 yards and 11 touchdowns last season, also signed a 3-year, $24 million extension. The offensive core is locked and loaded. And Dak himself? He's restructured his contract, he's healthy, he's already talking at OTAs about how excited he is about this roster. His exact words about the Cowboys' defensive rebuild and the new weapons around him? Pure confidence. He even praised first-round rookie safety Caleb Downs, saying the kid carries a quiet confidence that's contagious in the locker room. So Dallas is going into 2026 with real optimism. But the question everyone is asking is, can the defense actually hold up this time? Because if it can't, it doesn't matter how many touchdowns Dak throws. Which brings us back to why these joint practices with the Saints are so important. Now let's talk about New Orleans, because the Saints are far more relevant than people are giving them credit for. Yes, they went 6-11 in 2025. But here's the thing, they won 4 of their final 5 games of the season. They finished on a tear. And the reason? Quarterback Tyler Shaw. A second-round pick in 2025, Shaw took over the starting job in Week 9 and immediately showed why the Saints were so high on him. Paired with veterans Chris Olave and rookie wide receiver Jordan Tyson, New Orleans actually has a young, ascending offense that could surprise people in 2026. And leading all of that? Kellen Moore in his first full year as a head coach. Now let's be real about what Kellen Moore means to this story. When Moore was the Cowboys' offensive coordinator, Dak Prescott had some of the best years of his career. Moore understood Dak's game deeply. He knew when to call shots, when to protect Dak, and when to unleash him. That relationship and that knowledge doesn't just disappear when a guy walks out the door. Now Moore is on the other sideline. And in these joint practices, he's going to be sending his Saints defensive unit against Dak Prescott, armed with years of inside knowledge about how Dak operates. What routes he likes in the red zone. What coverages make him uncomfortable. What pre-snap looks mess with his reads. That is a massive wild card. And every Cowboys fan should be paying close attention. Let's talk about joint practices for a second, because casual fans sometimes underestimate how significant these sessions are. These are not soft, friendly walkthroughs. Joint practices are some of the most competitive, intense football you'll see outside of actual games. Players are going full speed against people they've never practiced with. Schemes are tested in real time. Coaches get real data on whether their players can hold up against legitimate NFL-caliber competition. Last year, the Cowboys held joint practices with only one team, the Los Angeles Rams. And those sessions gave Dallas a ton of valuable film to evaluate their roster. This year, practicing against the Saints gives the Cowboys exactly what they need most, a legitimate test of their overhauled defense. If Micah Parsons was still on this team, maybe the pass rush would speak for itself. But Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers before the 2025 season, and Dallas has spent this entire offseason trying to replace that production. Rashan Gary was brought in specifically to be that edge presence. These joint practices will be one of the first real indicators of whether Gary, in a new system, new city, new uniform, is ready to be the Cowboys' defensive leader in 2026. Same goes for the secondary. Kobe Durant, Jalen Thompson, PJ Locke, these guys have never played a single snap together in a Cowboys jersey. Going against the young, athletic Saints receiving core featuring Chris Olave and Jordan Tyson will tell you a lot about whether this group is ready for real NFL action in September. And from the Saints' perspective, going against Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens, one of the most dangerous offensive trios in the entire NFL, is going to give Tyler Shaw a very fast, very honest education in what elite offenses look like. Now zoom out for a second and think about what 2026 really means for Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. This is a pivotal year. After back-to-back playoff misses, after watching Micah Parsons get traded away, after a 2025 season where everything that could go wrong on defense did go wrong, Dallas is at a crossroads. Jerry Jones has invested heavily. Dak is healthy. The offense is stacked. The defense has been completely retooled. New head coach Brian Schottenheimer is in his second year, now with a full offseason to implement his system. If this team doesn't make the playoffs in 2026, the questions around Dak Prescott's future in Dallas are going to get very loud, very fast. Remember, there have already been reports about Dak potentially requesting a trade if things don't go well. The Ringer's Deontay Lee compared the situation to Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions, where a franchise quarterback eventually needed a fresh start to win a Super Bowl. Dak doesn't want that to be his story. He wants to win in Dallas. And everything about how he's talked this offseason suggests he believes this roster can do it. But the Cowboys can't just show up and hope for the best. They need these joint practice reps against the Saints. They need to find out now, in August, whether Rashan Gary is the pass rusher they think he is, whether Caleb Downs is ready to be a defensive leader as a rookie, and whether this secondary can actually hold up against quality receivers. Because when September hits, when the schedule kicks off and Dallas faces the likes of the Eagles, the Giants, and a brutal early stretch that includes a road trip to Brazil in Week 3, there is no time to figure things out on the fly. The joint practices with New Orleans aren't just a preseason novelty. They are a critical evaluation window. And the Kellen Moore factor makes it even more intriguing. So here's what Cowboys fans need to watch for as August approaches. Number 1. Dak Prescott versus the Saints defense. How does Dak look running Moore's former system against a defense that Moore himself is now coordinating? Does Kellen Moore's inside knowledge create any problems for Dallas? Or does Dak show that he's evolved beyond anything Moore studied? Number 2. Rashan Gary's debut in silver and blue. This is the biggest question mark on the entire Dallas roster. Gary is a former first-round pick who's shown flashes of elite pass-rushing ability in Green Bay. But he's now in a completely new environment. The joint practices will be the first real test of whether the Gary trade was a home run or a gamble. Number 3. the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens combination. Everyone has been talking about this dynamic duo since the Pickens trade. Joint practices will show us for the first time what it actually looks like when both of them are on the field at the same time against a real defense. Dak himself said it's going to be nearly impossible to double-team both of them. We're about to find out. Number 4. Tyler Shaw against Dallas secondary. If the Saints' young quarterback lights up the Cowboys' overhauled defensive backfield in practice, that's going to raise some serious red flags before the regular season even begins. If Dallas shuts him down, it'll be a massive confidence booster. And number 5. The Kellen Moore emotional factor. Coaches are human. When Moore walks back into that environment, back into Dallas, back facing Dak and Jerry Jones in a Cowboys franchise he spent years building, you'd better believe there will be added intensity on that practice field. Those are the kinds of moments that bring out the best and worst in teams, and it'll be fascinating to watch how both organizations handle it. Bottom line, Cowboys Nation, the announcement of these joint practices with the Saints is way bigger than the headlines suggest. This isn't just about a preseason game on August 28th. This is about the Cowboys getting a legitimate, competitive stress test for their completely rebuilt defense, all while facing a coaching staff led by a man who knows Dak Prescott better than almost anyone. Kellen Moore is coming back to Dallas. Dak Prescott has an offense that could be the best he's ever had. The defense is rebuilt but improving. And the 2026 season, a true must-win year for this franchise, is right around the corner. Whether you're a Cowboys fan, a Saints fan, or just an NFL fan who loves this kind of storyline, you are going to want to watch every single update from these joint practices in August. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and drop a comment below. Do you think Kellen Moore's inside knowledge of Dak gives the Saints an advantage, or does Dak Prescott rise above it? Let me know what you think. And as always, go Cowboys. See you in the next one.